Yo, what's poppin' everybody? I'm Rayboar, and I have a deck update for you guys today for one of my trademark decks, I suppose, for the channel. This is gonna be Rayboar, a deck that I really love and really have been using since the beginning, and even still do today. The premise of the deck is, of course, you utilize Rayquaza EX here, one of these Pokemon that has the potential to get one-hit knockouts as long as it has enough energies, and you combine it with Embor right here. This card got released in black and white originally, got reprinted a bunch of times. We've got the Legendary Treasures reprint here with the beautiful family here. Nice. And it has a 10 promo as well. Also, all sorts of reprints. There's a secret rare too that I don't have. But basically, Inferno Fandango is the Rain Dance Deluge style of ability for fire energies. We've seen this many times so far. We've got Magnezone in standard right now. There is an expanded deck, of course, because we don't have most of the cards here in standard. This is an old deck. It's crazy to say, but it is a very old deck. But the premise is the same. You bring out this stage 2 Pokemon, it's probably going to take you a few turns unless you get lucky, and then you start getting one-hit knockouts. Now, this deck is honestly at its finest if it plays in a format like Legacy, where competition isn't very much, and the cards are basically in their environment. Of course, Power Creep has hit this deck hard, but I still like it and I still use it. If you get a good setup going, you can even beat the strongest of decks most of the time. Of course, I wouldn't recommend, unless you really want to try and go to regionals and top tier events playing a deck like this and expand it. You're probably better off using something like Zoroark GX, whenever there's an expanded sort of format where the expanded rules apply, you better be using decks like those if you want the greatest chance to win. But this is just sort of my deck for fun, and I guess to show you guys the updated list because I still use this. And like I've said, Rayquaza X, you gotta have this guy. He's been hit pretty hard by the power creep. I've always hoped that there would be a new sort of Rayquaza GX card, or just another card that follows the same idea, but with updated stats and like a stronger Dragon Burst or discarding energy attack. Like we have the Necrozma GX, Ultra Necrozma GX, but that doesn't work with fire energies, so yeah. So we're still going to use Rayquaza EX. Hopefully we get some Tag Team Rayquaza GX card soon, like Deoxys Rayquaza Tag Team GX. That'd be pretty cool. Kind of like the Call of Legends like the Legend Deoxys Rayquaza card. Anyway, but this Pokemon, even if with 4 energies on it, can still get one-shots. So that's not bad. You can get one-shots on any of these Stage 1 GX Pokemon. You can even kill a lot of these Stage 2 GX Pokemon. And even take care of actually Pokemon like Zekrom and Pikachu GX, Pokemon like Gengar, it can die too, Mimikyu Gengar. So as long as you discard 4 energies, it's not as easy as 3, but if you discard 4, you still get one-hit knockouts, which is why I still kind of use this deck, and it's not completely unreliable if you get it going. Now, our Embor line is the same as always. I stick by 3 Embor. You don't really need 4. It clogs. Sometimes it's handy, but 3 is the good number. You got to run one of the stage 1s here, and I run the Pignut with 100 HP here. And we've got the Tepig too. You have a few options for Tepig and Expanded. I like to go with the one with 70 HP because I really like the family art here. And not only because of that, it's the only one with 70 HP. You have one more retreat cost, but the 70 HP is very handy. Many times that 10 extra you get from 60 is a lifesaver. Okay, now for the other sort of offensive techs, fire Pokemon, I run my Entei GX here. I like this guy because of Brave Burn. Is a great sniping GX attack. I'm happy to use that and get a good KO on the bench. With doing 150, you can take care of Pokemon like Shaymin EX. If they're sitting there, it's easy free prizes. If there's another GX Pokemon that's hurt, your opponent decides to retreat it, you can take care of it. All sorts of interactions when you can do 150. You can even take care of opposing energy acceleration Pokemon or major support Pokemon like Blastoise, Emboar, Magnezone, Octilleries, these sorts of Pokemon. Depending on the situation, it's a great attack to use. And besides that, it's just a solid regular GX Pokemon as well. Combustion is one of those easy attacks to use, just 2 energies. If we play first, attach 1, then next turn attach 1 more, and we can start doing 50. A lot of the times, decks like these don't have methods to attack without Emboar, without the energy acceleration Pokemon. You're basically stuck in a passive position. But if we have a bunch of cheap attackers like Entei and other Pokemon, then that can be pretty good while you're setting up maybe. Farfang also a solid attack. It basically does 120 for 3, and if they keep the burn, it adds from there. Not bad. Just standard stats, 180 HP, 2 retreat cost, water, weakness. Good little Pokemon. I like it very much. Now for the other fire tech here, I've got Heatran from Forbidden Light. It only took me an eternity, but I managed to get one of these reverse as well. What do you know? Now, by now we have a card called Moltres from the team up set that's actually pretty much excellent. A dream come true card that does, it's a basic Pokemon, 120 HP, a different weakness. I'm pretty sure it's weak to lightning as opposed to water, and can do 180 for 4 energies. Now, normally I would run that, but I don't have it, so we're going with Heatran. But even this card has benefits over Moltres, and of course, drawbacks too. Guard Press is a better first attack, I'd say. You do 30 and you can block 30 damage. That might be handy. Moltres, what it does is it just decks out cards from your opponent. That can be pretty good too as well, but you know, it's Guard Press is just an actual attack that you can do damage, soften up Pokemon. 130 HP is better than 120. Granted, it doesn't have a resistance. And Boiling Impact, even though it does a lot less damage, 130, we only discard 2 energy, and we need 3 energies to make it work as opposed to 4. So, like I've said, a bunch of different benefits and drawbacks. Moltres is kind of designed to get knockouts on bigger Pokemon, discarding more energies. Heatran is one of those that can take care of basic Pokemon like Buzzwole. A lot of these legendary basic Pokemon with 130 HP, you can take care of them. If you hit for weakness, you can do good enough damage anyway, 260. And the cost is smaller, so you know, pretty good. With 3 retreat as well, we can instantly grab this with heavy ball too, so it makes my heavy ball have an additional target, I suppose. Not bad. And all that's left is the support Pokemon here. As always, I run my Mime. I like running this guy. I just like having a strong ability like Bench Barrier that makes all my bench Pokemon immune to spread. It's just pretty good. In my opinion, more people should be running a card like this. But, you know, that's just, I guess that's what I think. But it's pretty good. You have this, your opponent, if they're playing spread, they have to get rid of this guy. Otherwise, you know, Tapu Koko, Weavile, all these strategies become very, very weak. They really can't do shit. It just stops them in their tracks. So they got to get rid of it. It's always handy against Buzzwole GX, Landorus EX, I guess, if anyone is playing at, and other spread tactics. It's always a good card to have around. Okay. And now for the 2 support consistency cards, I guess, we've got the Jirachi right here, one of the newer additions. I really love this card. It's a very, very excellent card for support. Many people want to run this. I've seen basically on the trade um, page people trading a bunch of packs and a bunch of GXs just to get their hands on one of these. And for good reason. It's a very great card. With Stellar Wish, if this Pokemon is active, you can reveal the top 5 cards, get any trainer card. So in decks like these that are pretty passive, and they want to see a bunch of items, a bunch of cards together to get going, like for example, a deck like this needs the candy, you need your basic Pokemon, you need your evolution, you need your energy retrievals, you need a bunch of cards, you need to grab your energies with letter. It helps you out immensely. So one of these, I don't know if I would run more if I had more than one, but we gotta run our Tapu Lele GX as well still. This is still a very good Pokemon. Kind of a different role than, acts a bit differently like Jirachi, but still very good. Grabs this instantly as supporter, play it down on the bench. It doesn't, in ways, this Pokemon has drawbacks and benefits over Jirachi and vice versa. This Pokemon needs to be active to get its effect off, so if you open with it, you're good. You don't lose the ability like if you force to open with Tapu Lele and you don't have any other Pokemon. On the flip side though, if you have an active Pokemon and you play Tapu Lele on the bench, then you get the effect off. Or if you open up with somebody else and you play Jirachi on the bench, you got to do some shenanigans to get Jirachi in the active position to activate the effect. So very good Pokemon, both of them. They have their drawbacks, of course, as any Pokemon does. But Wonder Attack is fantastic. The great thing about Tapu Lele GX2 is that it's just a very well-rounded Pokemon. One retreat, very good. No weakness, something that I really dig. Energy Drive is also a very good attack that can be handy. This Pokemon can become like an additional attacker in emergencies, given the situation. So just very good indeed. Okay, now the Trainer Skeleton, it's gonna be more of the same. You guys are used to it, maybe if you saw my previous deck lists. We gotta have our, well, first and foremost, you gotta have the rare candies for these to get out the Embor as successfully and as quickly as possible. My usual techs gotta include the Field Blower, one of these, and one, where are you? Startling Megaphone. You can do two Field Blower, more flexible, more reliable card, but I like Startling Megaphone just in the case my opponent wants to play 3 tools on their Pokemon. You can get a major plus, get rid of all of them. Nice to have these sort of broken, unlimited effect abilities where you just discard all tools. There's no specific number. So, if tool drop ever becomes a thing again with the Honedge, I think is what it's called. No, Dewblade actually, Dewblade. Yeah, then you can use this. It's a nice card. And I've got my one switch and one floatstone. Floatstone is just, it's really good. I mean, since we're running Jirachi, maybe you guys would tell me to run the escape board too to get Jirachi out of the way. But I like to have Floatstone where Embor can use it as well if my opponent decides to get that guy stuck, because this is a legitimate strategy people can use against this deck if you're not careful. And I've always sort of built my deck being careful because I did in the past lose to uh, this sort of strategy. And since then, I've made sure that I have options in my deck to get around it. Like make sure I have enough energies to grab back, make sure I have my switch, my floatstone. Just make sure this guy doesn't get stuck in the active position. So that's where the floatstone comes in. It's an easy out for Embor. I mean, normally Jirachi, if they want to, it will probably be dead by the time I need to just put in a skateboard for it to retreat. And if it doesn't and your opponent just leaves it there and we're ready to go, then you never know. We might get lucky and wake up, and then I can just attach a fire energy. I might have the switch. It's just, Floatstone just covers a lot more ground. But, I can see why people will run a skateboard. We do have a few targets. You got Jirachi, you got Lele, got the Mime, and you've got Rayquaza too. But like I've said, you don't want to put the floatstone on something like Rayquaza or other Pokemon. You want to always put it on a Pokemon like Embor. So that's basically the situation. Okay, and I forgot to mention the tool removal cards are very important, Field Blower and Startling Megaphone, because we got to remember in Expanded, Garbodor always exists with Garbotoxin. It's always going to be a good effect on a good card. So you got to keep that in mind. It's always your nemesis. So you don't want ability lock against a deck like this. It's a surefire way to lose most of the time. So those are our outs. Now for other cards are pretty standard. I run one Nest Ball. Get any basic Pokemon here. Then you gotta run the other ball here, Heavy Ball. This is my easy way to get Embor in hand. Very good. And I've got one Mystery Treasure too, Mysterious Treasure. I always call it Mystery Treasure. Anyway, this is pretty good. We have a few targets here. Obviously, it's for Lele, sort of a softer discarding card than Ultra Ball to get Lele. It becomes a supporter. But we can search the Rayquazas too, so we have 3 targets. So very good card as well. My ace pick of choice, can't forget about that, is Computer Search. Maximize consistency in a deck like this. It's the most important. If you don't want to run this, I guess the next best card would be Dowsing Machine, perhaps. Anything else like a Master Ball, Gold Potion, they're kind of redundant cards. You want to maximize your consistency or your recovery at the very least with Dowsing Machine if you don't want to run this. Okay, now for the energy sort of support, you gotta have the professor's letters to add those energies in hand, add those lightnings, add those fire. Then we gotta recover our energies. I've run 3 energy retrieval for this purpose. 1 superior energy retrieval. Where are you? This card's still very good. The double discarding cost can be kind of hefty, so that's why we run a few different options too. And I've got the Fisherman too. This guy is a supporter, but he's very good. It's just an instant 4 energy recovery. You can grab this with Lele. You can recycle this back with VS Seeker, so it gives us a lot of flexibility and options. So I don't have to feel so bad if I discard it. Whereas if this gets discarded, it's gone forever. Same for the energy retrievals. So very good. Fisherman, one of Fisherman is very, very nice, even if it's a supporter. And then we gotta have the one Trainer's Mail, excellent consistency card. Just reveal the top four, get any trainer. You can try and run things like the Whistle if you want to. Acrobike maybe not so good, but you know the other different options. I like the Trainer's Mail. I also have the secret rare one here. Nice. So I want to run it. VS Seeker, as I mentioned, always very good. Lets us reuse cards like Lysander or Guzma if you prefer that. Lets us use N again. It's just a card that allows you flexibility and options. You don't have to run many of one of a specific supporter because maybe you can reuse them with the VS Seeker. So it's excellent, excellent indeed. And I think the last thing to talk about when it comes to non-supported cards is the Stadium. And this deck benefits greatly from the new Prism Stadium Heat Factory from Lost Thunder. It's just great. I basically dropped the Scorched Earth and added this. Just allows you to draw an additional card. Excellent. And not only that, it has a little sort of floating immunity. Your opponent needs a Stadium to get rid of this. They can't get rid of this with effects like Field Blower and other cards. So it's very, very nice. A lot of the times, you just want to get this card out turn 1 if you can. Like I will use Scala to get this basically and start just drawing straight 3 with this. And it's just a very good card, excellent card. If you can get this with Jirachi, maybe even Scala in certain situations, and I don't know, like you somehow get it in your hand, it's just great. You start playing this down, uh, discarding far energies and drawing cards. Now you got to remember this is in Ray Eel, so you don't want to dump all your energies in the discard pile. But I have enough energy retrieving cards here so that if you dump a few and try to just get a good consistent start and use it a couple of times, then it's not bad, it's okay. It's actually for the best if you do that. So very good. Counter Stadium, of course, you gotta have at least one. Alright, now the supporters, we already touched on the Fisherman. I still run my one chorus since it's expanded, it's great. I do not run Erica in this deck, there's just not enough space. I would have to drop another significant card, and I mean, Erica can be pretty good. I think Chorus is just a tiny bit more reliable. At least you have a little bit of control. If you fill your bench, you can use this and draw a few cards, make it kind of like Cynthia at the very least. Whereas Erica, you really just need your opponent to have a bunch of Pokemon. If they don't, it's kind of dead. So that's why I don't like it as much as Chorus, I guess I should say. And the other thing is, Erica has a cost. You can't play it anytime you want. This you can play it anytime you want. You can even play this to basically put cards back from your hand to your deck, draw less cards, and I guess prevent yourself from decking out in a situation. It's going to be very rare, but you just have a bunch of options. I think Chorus is just a tiny bit more flexible in this deck at the very least. If you want to run Erica, you know, that's up to you. You can drop, I guess, VS Seeker, drop another supporter. It is up to you. Still running 2 Cynthia. This card is great. Just standard supporter. Not really any drawbacks. You know, just shuffle, draw 6. Very good. Easy to use. We got around the 1N. 1N is still important. My newly full art N from the X and Y collection box here. Not bad. The economical version for the Noble Victories one, I guess. But it's still pretty good. I like the art here. Only one because we've got VS Seeker. And a lot of the times, if I get an early knockout, I don't want to be drawing less cards when I use my supporters. This is one of the decks that doesn't really want to, you know, doesn't have a Pokemon like Artillery down, so if you end yourself, you can use that and draw cards. You want to keep drawing cards even late in the game to see your energy retrievals, your energies, and just keep getting one-shots. So yeah, this card is great, but maybe not the greatest in this deck. We've got Via Secrets if we want to reuse it. Okay, 3 Juniper, very, very standard, excellent card. Dump your hand, draw 7. And then for the last supporters, I've got 1 Scala here. Very, very nice. Grab us any trainer. And we've got the Volkner here. I went with, instead of going the 2 Scala, I decided to add this guy since we can grab lightning energies too. So it gives me a little bit of a +1. Most of the time when I use a card like Scala, you get an item like a candy or what have you. Of course, sometimes you want to get something else, like the Stadium, as I mentioned, Heat Factory. But just getting a free lightning energy in hand too is always very handy. Just get me an energy, easy like that. So that's why I run one Volkner as well. Then the energies, pretty standard as well, the same as always, 3 lightning energies, and then the rest are fire energies, 8 fire energies. And oh, I almost forgot about Lysander. Lysander for the pulling card. You can reuse this with Via Secret as well. You can use Guzma if you want to, but I still like running this guy. Just cause, I don't know. You can use Guzma, it's probably better in situations. And another card I forgot, this card, Super Rod. Just a good recovery to the deck card. You can use Stretcher, but I like having the option of recycling energies. You never know with this deck how many energies you're going to dump and what have you. So Super Rod is still the recovery card here. Okay, and I think I rambled long enough, but you guys get the idea. This is the updated deck. Just a couple of changes. You know, the Heatran, the new supporters like Jirachi, the Heat Factory is another new addition. Maybe you guys haven't seen. It's been a while since I made a deck update for this deck. A bunch of other sort of changes for the comes with the rarity. Like I added this Sandstorm Candy. I added the Full Art N, Full Art Scala. You know, these sorts of cards. This guy is a new addition as well. Before I was running 2 Scala. So a few changes. The deck is the same as always. If you draw the nuts, you draw the nuts and you win. If you brick, you brick. This deck is always going to brick no matter how you build it. I don't care what anyone says. A deck like this, no matter how you build it, will have inconsistencies. And if you try to make it as consistent as possible, then you lose tech cards that win you the game in other situations. Like when you just need a specific tech card like Switch, and then you don't have it. You need a Field Blower, you need a Startling Megaphone, you need like a Super Rod. It just, you can sacrifice these cards for more consistency, but you're always going to lose something in return. That's why this deck is never going to be like a tier 0 or even tier 1 deck, I guess. This was a tier 1 deck back in the day, but it's always going to have consistency issues. I've made it as consistent as possible, in my opinion. I've been playing this deck around for many, 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 many years, so I think I know what the hell I'm talking about. I feel like I'm the sort of expert for a deck like this in the community, I guess, for YouTube too. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys use it. I'm going to show you some matches with it as well. So I thought I'd show you the update. And hopefully we get some good games in Expand where we don't just lose in one turn against Zoroark GX. Anyways, or Archie's Blastoise, I guess, rather fucked up decks. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys subscribe and leave a like and share this video with your friends. My channel is an excellent hub for all things TCG, contemporary and retro. And thank you guys for watching as always. Rayboar 4, what's up?